The program is Political Tough, and this evening we're looking at very key issue, very salient issue. And what are we talking about? The Atiku citizenship, and of course the controversial issue of not having a certificate at all and you become a president or even other major offices in the country itself. My name is Bolabo Famous Cole. I welcome you to Political Talk this evening. But before I introduce you to my guests for our discussion proper, we'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll start off with the discussions. Yeah, welcome back, and the program is still Political Tough, and I have my guest in the studio, and we are looking at, first of all, Atiku citizenship itself. It's a crisis already, and a lot of people are talking about it in various quarters itself. I have to my immediate left, Dino Odeyemi is a political analyst. Good to have you this evening, Political Tough.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
And of course, I have another political analyst too in the studio, Wale Akinleye. He's also a political analyst. Good to have you on board. Gentlemen, you actually listened to the reactions from people, and you've watched people's gesture as to whether Atiku is a Cameroonian or Nigeria. Let's even look at the platform where this particular information came out during the petition filed by Atiku in court against the process of February the 23rd presidential elections itself. You know, when you have issues like this in the front burner, there's somebody who has served as former vice president, and he has served in PDDF very key positions in the society in Nigeria. And for Nigerians to be shocked to hear that he's not a Nigerian, how does that news meet you? Let me start off with Mr. Diro here.
Thank you very much. And I want to align myself with the statement made by the PDP spokesperson,
okay,
Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan, that the whole thing is diversionary, it's embarrassing, and it calls to question the quality of the people we have as a senior advocate of Nigeria. And I want to point out that there has been a kind of a division even before we get to the tribunal. We read recently that Lateef Fagbemi, who is leading the APC council at the tribunal, dissociated himself from that particular statement, that the issue of Atiku not being a Nigerian emanated from Keyamo. And Keyamo himself said he's going to prove it when he gets to the court. So Nigerians are in for a big show at the tribunal. But personally, I think if you are called to come and defend your vote legitimate in court, how it now becomes an issue of where somebody was born and now is no longer a Nigerian, having served as a vice president at a point in time, having risen to the pinnacle of his career in the customs, it's very embarrassing, and we don't understand. And if you look at the caliber of who Keyamo is somebody who loves controversy. And
also, we shouldn't forget that he's a senior lawyer too.
I've just said it. He's somebody who loves controversy. This is not the first time you are hearing the name of Keyamo. During Bola Ige's death, concerning Yola Omishore and Frayo, you knew what happened. You knew the history. How Frayo came in the public to say that Keyamo lectured him as a lawyer on what to say. That he actually cooked everything up simply because Keyamo wanted to make a name for himself. He wanted to become a son. And if you look at all these variables, and you look at the caliber of the person who is speaking, you look at his past, you will agree with me that the issue he has just thrown up is just an embarrassment, and it's just somebody who just loves controversy, for the sake of it. Do you agree,
Akinle, it's with all of this?
Basically, when you look at how this issue came up, the APC has its own legal team, and also the presidency has their own legal team. And Fagbemi is of the APC legal team, while Keyamo is of the presidential legal team at the tribunal. There are several ways whereby you become a citizen of a country. I don't understand what Mr. Keyamo is saying by putting forward this particular issue. But it is novel when you look at it, because it has risen and it has become topical. Otherwise, it won't be, subject to debate here and there. Having said this, the case at the tribunal is about election, post-election. This is not a pre-election whereby you talk about whether the person is qualified to contest and all that. But having said this, what he is referring to, I mean, Festus Keyamo, senior advocate of Nigeria, not quite recently, you know, when you look at it, he's saying that the place where Atiku was born was part of Cameroon initially. But is he saying that Atiku became a Nigerian citizen by naturalization? Was Atiku holding a different passport at birth and then he has to change it to Nigerian passport? All this, you know, this case is already in front of the tribunal and you wouldn't want to go into it, the nitty-gritty. But let us look at it. The Nigerian polity is already eaten up. The division that is in the country is unprecedented. And this is also divisionary. When you look at it, it's divisive. Because people that are born in that category with Atiku will now come up and say they want to ostracize them from Nigeria. It further eats up the polity. And without the polity being settled, there cannot be meaningful development in the country. And this is where my own fear is. We don't need to heat up the polity. When you look at what is happening all across the northern Nigeria, as at today, the security issue, and without us settling the political dust, all this cannot be tackled headlong.
Then he talked about, from what I read, he talked about option. You know, it was an option of either you join Nigeria or you go to your motherland itself. And the option that they had quoted was that of Atiku family then joining Nigeria. So I bet he's not recognized as a Nigerian from their explanation itself. And of course we have, you know, Bakaseben Sida to Cameroon itself. But at this point in time, let's even look at the provisions of the Constitution. We'll see what happened in Obama's case. For instance, somebody who came into the U.S. Is it applicable here in Nigeria? Is our Constitution very flexible, for instance, to accept somebody who is alien to occupy very key positions itself?
Personally, I don't see anything wrong in anybody in Nigeria contesting for a position. I've lived abroad before and I know how many Nigerians are in their parliament. And not only that, even in Lagos there, we know people who are Igbo, who are from the southern part of the country, but who are occupying the position. I came from Osun State. I occupied the position in Oyo State as a former special advisor to Otumba Alao-Akala. So all this discrimination and they are offenses in a civilized country. Discrimination against anybody, either on the basis of religion, on the basis of birth, on the basis of, is a crime on its own. It's only in Nigeria, it's only in Nigerian politics that when you come out to contest an election, that you hear stories of how your mother is not your mom, how your father happens to be a foreigner or something, and that is exactly what is playing out. And that's why I said, as far as this issue is concerned, it's diversionary, it's embarrassing, and people are just cooking up a story just to defend what is not there. If you are called, or if you are presenting a matter to the tribunal to justify that you actually won an election, how do you now relate or correlate the issue of where he was born, whether he's not in Nigeria, he doesn't have the right to contest at all? Unfortunately, we are not lawyers, but we are waiting to see how it's going to play out at the tribunal.
But there's a minority group that actually come out to say that Atiku needs to apologize to Nigerians and also go back.
Those are political antics. They are political antics by politicians to further, like I said, eat up the polity, put pressure on Vice President Atiku Abubakar. We are not Atiku's counsel, but when you look at this history that we're talking about, it is not the same as you have in America. In America today, wherever you're from, once you are born there on the soil of American soil, you have a right that is given to you at birth. You wouldn't tell me if a Ghanaian comes to Nigeria and gives birth to a baby in Nigeria today that the Nigerian immigration will give him or that baby a passport. No, that's not our own constitution. That's not the way. The way to acquire a citizen of a country differs from
countries to countries. Oh, okay.
And when you look at way by which one can become a citizen of Nigeria, you can become by birth, by naturalization, by marriage. Even when you are married to a Nigerian, you need to formalize it. It's not automatic. It's not automatic. So this is novel. As much as we look at it, it has gone to the court, and then the court will have to make an interpretation. Or you know.
But what is the implication of all of this itself? What if at the end of the day the court says it's not a Nigerian? What happens?
It's if.
What if? That's what I'm saying.
It's if.
What was the implication of all of this itself? You know, in as much as we do not want to read the mind of the court and also preempt what the court will say, but really, what is the implication of this on the psyche of a number of Nigerians who had, you know, is a shocker. Wake up in the morning and you realize that somebody who is canvassing to be a president is not a Nigerian. It sounds funny, and at the same time, it sounds like, what is going on?
I honestly don't see it happening, and I don't want to believe it's going to happen. I continue to say it's just a political gimmick, just to give Nigeria another topic to discuss, rather than concentrate on the rigged election, which PDP
allegedly rigged election.
Allegedly,
the word rigged.
Allegedly.
No problem. Allegedly.
The matter is
not, and that is why we believe that if you want to defend your votes, go straight to the point. These are the number of votes I was able to gather from which state. These are the number of people that voted for me. Not this kind of an argument that Atiku is not in Nigeria, he has to apologize. Very soon now you will see another group coming out to say, yes, we actually witnessed his birth. He's not actually in Nigeria. So all these scenarios will play out. We're all politicians. We all study what is going on. They are just side talks.
I think honestly, one of the reasons why the council to the APC is coming up with this is because perhaps part of what the PDP has also alleged at the petition tribunal is the issue of the certificate of Mr. President, which is an issue that has refused to go. Because when you look at it, a court pronouncement was made prior to the 2015 general election, whereby it was, the case was thrown away due to lack of merit, and then it has come up again. And then when you look at the pain that the presidency took in getting
the certificate,
the attestation from WAEC, and how it was celebrated, it also gave a feeler that okay, so they were actually jittery, which was not necessary. If actually, as our Lord,
but let's not also forget that Nnamdi Kanu actually raised this bar. At a point in time, he said that Atiku is not in Nigeria.
Who is Nnamdi Kanu?
Who is
okay. You do not believe that it's somebody who is relevant?
He's a fugitive. Nnamdi Kanu is a fugitive, as far as I'm concerned. And when you look at it, I was telling a group of people that this Nnamdi Kanu, I'm beginning to give him attention. Why? He has started dealing with high class people. When you look at it outside Nigeria, outside the shore of Nigeria, I want to believe that young man
is being sponsored
by the enemy of this country to destabilize this country.
But what's your evidence? It's easier to see all of that.
The evidence is there. The way he left the shores of Nigeria, in the brouhaha that happened there, in the midst of heavy artillery, I was able to escape. And when you look at it, he was in Israel today. In which passport is he using to travel? It's beginning to look to me like a foreign agent. I'm beginning to perceive him in that manner.
So we can't take any of his words seriously, even when he told us.
In
for
Nigeria,
instance,
one of the problems we have as citizens is that we celebrate mediocres. We celebrate individuals who should be condemned to the dustbin. We give recognition to people that ordinarily should not even be listened to. People who should be regarded as having some mental problems. In a civilized country, you don't take people like that very seriously. Who is Nnamdi Kanu in this scenario? If you watch him on the social media recently, you will see him parading his wife to the whole world, nakedly, that he married the most beautiful person in the world and some other things. If a person is doing this, and is somebody Nigerians are listening to, and is somebody the Igbos are looking up to as their savior or as representing them in whatever way, then we are all downfall in this country. It's unfortunate that People like Kanu can be speaking or can be saying something, and Nigerians will take him seriously. To me, he's somebody who should be
from the
who should be
statement
somewhere
actually credited
in the mental house.
Okay, from the statement credited to Keyamo, it's almost doing the line of Nnamdi Kanu here.
That is why.
Yes. And of course, you know that Keyamo is somebody who is well educated. He's a legal practitioner, and of course, the spokesperson to the president during the election
sorry,
itself.
With all respect to the people in the legal profession, you know, I believe Keyamo is actually doing what is being paid to do. At the
detriment of
they really
his role itself.
They really do not, you know, care about certain things. Part of what they don't care about, he wants a result for his client. If you understand what I'm trying to say, he wants results for his clients. He's looking at what is in the public space.
So you think that this is just a political gimmick? This is a legal practitioner here. What interest would he have?
But this is a political case.
Okay.
This is a political case. This is not a crime. You know, it is not an issue that is not as if he's handling a murder case, or, you know, this is a political case. And they will employ all that is in their arsenal to deliver the case. That is what I believe Festus Keyamo is trying to do in this scenario. When you look at the fact that, look at what happened in the at the case of Justice Onoge, whereby the lead counsel was having issue with a member of the legal team, and the lead counsel had to tell the president to excuse the other lawyer, and they were on the same team. So it doesn't mean that because Keyamo is a son, that his opinion or his view is shared by even the entire team of the presidency. Not to go to APC now, we still have the INEC legal team. You know, I believe that if our electoral process can be reformed, we'll have less of all these issues.
Where do we think we're heading towards with all of this development itself? Looking at our political structure, looking at how much Nigeria has voted into our leadership structure itself, we want a system where things are much more better. And of course, there'll be a point where Nigerians have been canvassing for restructuring. Things should be done in a different light. And of course, 2019 elections was what Nigerians were hoping to see, a whole lot of differences. But really, where do you think we're heading to? Are we on the right track with all of this development itself?
Personally, I think we are even moved some steps backward. Backward in the sense that even if you look at the whole election, the review of the whole election that we recently had, you will agree with me that a lot of issues has even cropped up, unlike what we had in the past.
What
issues like rerun election? It wasn't like this. It wasn't.
But isn't that the beauty of democracy? Isn't that the beauty of democracy?
It's
when you have a little bit of things to sketch it.
I want to differ with Flavio on this.
Okay.
You see, there is no way every process, every election that we've been having, and I used to say as a politician, every election cycle has its own dictates. They have its own tendencies, which always differ. The narratives always differ. The narratives in 2015 is quite different from the narrative we had in the build-up to the 2019 election. The INEC as an institution, the independence of INEC, when you look at it, has it improved? Do we have, for me, holistically, because we cannot cherry pick. It is, if it's good here.
So you think that there's been some level of development itself?
Yeah, sure. I believe that we have moved a bit forward.
What are these things that you saw, for instance, that we've improved upon?
Basically, the improvement, even in the conduct.
Okay.
Barring the skirmishes in hot spots like Kano, Rivers, and a few other places. When you look at the first election, the first general election, which produced the president, the House of Rep, and other likes. Of course, politicians will always want to outsmart each other. But when we look at what's the psyche of the populace now believe and know that they can actually use their voting rights to elect or reject whoever they want.
You're shaking your head.
Of course, I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree in the sense that when you are talking of the electorate, what played out in this election is the fact that election has become it has become a commodity where the politicians pay electorate to cast their vote for them. The issue of vote buying was not as pronounced as it was in the past. So that is number one. Number two, looking at the numbers of rerun, to me, I see rerun election as an avenue for whatever political party or the INEC to favor one political party to win an election. We have seen
look at these two parties that are involved.
We have seen one now, which is Osun State, and it is being reversed. That there is no point, there's no reason for a rerun election in the first instance. Simple majority should have been enough to declare the winner. But here you are, simply because you wanted to favor a particular party, you order a rerun, whereas there was no reason.
Those are allegations, because these are two parties.
If you are saying
no one is being told to go.
I just want him to realize that he has kind of supported my argument.
No, I said we have moved
when you said
some steps backward. Yes,
the vote buying was more pronounced.
Yes.
Why? Because the politicians realized that they need the electorate, which is why they have now come out to pay in years back. They don't need the electorate. They just go somewhere and write the results.
Well, it's not good for our democracy. It's not good.
I'm not saying we are the Eldorado. No, we are not there yet.
We are not moving. We are not moving
there yet. But we will definitely get there. We are not there yet. What I'm saying is, if you now suddenly realize that you need to pay me for me to vote for you,
it means you know the importance.
Then you know the importance.
Oh, okay.
So that's the point that I'm making.
But you were saying that it's more of corruption to do.
It's not of corruption, and it's derogatory to our democracy.
Sure, it is corruption.
So how do we get out of this?
It is still the populace. It is still the onus still lies on the electorate. To stand their ground.
Yeah.
You will not say, even though there are votes buying, but we still had. Look at the case of Bauchi, for example. Even this so-called rerun was, declared there, but the people stood their ground. That if you continue to rerun this election on and on, we'll still vote for the same candidates that we had voted for. But you saw what happened in Kano. That is, a rape on democracy. Anyway, I don't subscribe.
Okay, we just have to move forward. Coming to the issue of certificate, of course, you listened to Keyamo saying that you don't need to have a certificate to become a president and also a governor. Do you believe in that? Let me start with Mr. Diro. Do you believe in that? I know they are the likes of the PhDs, you have the MSCs, you have people who are well read, and now they don't even have chances to become even a councillor. And now you are having a senior advocate of Nigeria actually saying that for you to occupy the position of the presidency or even a governorship position, you don't need a certificate. You must just show cause that you've been trained to the level of secondary school. At least.
While it may sound absurd that you don't need a certificate to rule Nigeria, I also want to say that certificate issue is basically for the academics. If you are talking of administering a country or a state, you as a person, what you need is combination of people that will assist in bringing smiles to the faces of the electorate. And that is why personally I believe in the basic constitutional requirement that with school certs, either pass or fail, you are as well good to be a governor. That is the constitution.
Do you think, well, some people feel
yes
that is the crux of our problem in Nigeria, because we do not have educated leaders. So it's very difficult for them to administer their office judiciously and very well. Do you agree with that school of thought?
Nigeria, when we talk Nigeria, I believe we in the South, we have a different mindset from the people in the North. So I'm not an advocate of ethnicity but when you look at it, our mindset are not the same. And there's nothing we can do about that. An average Southerner wants to read and read and read because that's what is being inculcated into him from, But these people who have been at the helm of affairs, I go to Abuja frequently. They don't really care. They don't really care. That's the dichotomy. They don't really care whether you have a PhD or you are a professor. As far as they want to relate with you, they want to give you a business, they just give you. And that is what has come into the polity now, because we believe that we have an edge because we have gone to school. But they are saying no, whether you went to, I go to madrasa or it was at a, that, and what is the constitution saying? That is the crux of the matter now.
But if you look at all of these issues put together, we've had issues of Toronto certificates. We've had various issues that are very controversial, and Ford certificate itself. From what Keyamo is saying now, what are we going to make out of all of this itself? Now you don't even need to forge at all, as long as you've been able to show evidence that
it's making sense in
you have been trained.
Yes, like the issue of Osun State he referred to. I think the public needs to know that there's nothing like forgery in this case. I'm an active participant, and I actually scrutinize the whole thing. And what I can tell you is that he actually met the constitutional requirement. He went to secondary school, finished there, did his WAEC.
But from what they are saying, from the evidence coming to the court, is that the school is saying they never recognized a delegate attending that exam.
No, that is not what they said. And that has not even been an issue. WAEC issue a valid certificate to him. The issue now,
but they are saying that he never sat, that they did not see him in the class.
That is a
different case. A different case is that he entered for it now. He wanted to study more. He wanted to sit for another WAEC exam. He registered. And it was at the point of having that exam that he started his campaign, to be a senator. So he couldn't attend again. And somebody, they were about.
So what's the need of wanting to go for another WAEC certificate?
If you don't make it, there are people who sit for WAEC. Yeah, he failed. Yeah, there's no issue about that.
But is it this kind of leaders? My question is this the kind of leaders we want to be breeding? Leaders who fail.
You cannot measure people's brain or intelligence or their ability by certificates. In abroad, people.
Let's take away
you are paid by your years of experience, by what you are able to deliver, not by the certificate you bring to you.
But let's take away political interest out of all of this itself. Let's face the reality. When you have issues like this, do you feel good when you have the likes of Obama? When they talk with authority. These are people who are Harvard trained, and you now have our own Nigerian president, or probably a governor with a school set failure. How do we begin to
I've just mentioned something to you now.
Yes. And let's not forget we are giants of Africa. So what are we needing?
You don't need that certificate to become the best performing governor. Take it from me. Being a governor is just one edge. If you are able to surround yourself with other people who are experienced, who are intelligent, who knows what they want to do.
So you need to tap into the knowledge of somebody who is educated.
Nobody's an island.
So why should
nobody's an island. Knowledge.
Yes.
I want to get it, and I want to, give you my own response. The fact is that in the society that we live, that we have, when the GSS curriculum was introduced, you don't have to go to university before you can become somebody in life. Having education is different from becoming somebody in life. You decide what you want to do. But then, in modern day world, it's practically impossible, for you to relate and connect without certain level of education. You have to go to your primary school, you do your GSS, and you get a certificate. What does that certificate does is that when you go somewhere, somebody knows that you have actually had a training. It is that training that we're talking about. That you've had a training. And then, okay, now you want to move forward, you go ahead and have a training. So if you do not have the basic training, how do you want to perform? These are basic training. And you could see all around. If you go to, an Arabic school, it's a training.
So you don't necessarily need to go through the 4 walls of a university.
You don't.
So let me now pose, gentlemen, let me now give you those questions. We have 1,001 graduates.
Yes.
We have those that have MSc. We have PhD holders
yeah.
without jobs. if you have instances where your leaders are not educated, how would they understand the need for somebody who is graduated with an MSc to get a job? How do they understand that? How do they feel the pinch? Because they have not gone through those rigors. They are just lucky to be there.
Do you realize that people who have not entered the four walls of a university have employed graduates in their establishment than
beyond employment? If you're occupying a particular office publicly, you're supposed to create policies that will better the lot of your citizen rates out.
Yes.
When you don't have that prerequisite, that knowledge, how do you give back to the society? That's my question. How do you alleviate the sufferings of the people?
Have you not met somebody who holds just WAEC certificate, and when you talk to him, you will see the brilliance in him, that he is even better than somebody who has passed out from the university. So that's why I said certificate is a different thing. It's only in Nigeria that we worship certificate. Abroad with school start, you can start a job and they start training you. You go for one course,
But can we make examples?
Which is what I said.
You are even better off than somebody who is coming from the university to join the job.
But really, those are examples. But can we make a kind of comparison here between what obtains elsewhere in terms of leadership here, in terms of the kind of leadership we produce in Nigeria and elsewhere? Have we ever heard that the president of another country is not well trained, has not gone to school before? Even the likes of Mugabe, I don't know. I have never heard such issues.
I'm not an advocate of somebody not getting a good education. I can never subscribe to that. I cannot never subscribe to somebody not wanting to
and being a leader.
No, I'm not an advocate of such scenario. What I'm just saying.
But that is what has taken over the
Nigeria.
The leadership structure.
I believe
with Buhari and the WAEC certificate.
I believe.
Well, you are mentioning Buhari. Maybe you have some political interest here.
No.
Because Buhari shouldn't be a scapegoat.
The truth of the matter is that Buhari, as far as I'm concerned,
he shouldn't be a scapegoat here.
As far as I'm concerned, someone who has a first degree or a second degree might not have had the kind of training that Buhari had. When you look at it, you see, you find out that even people that you were in the same school together, they are not as brilliant as you are. Going to that you read the same course, they are not as brilliant as you are, or they are not as as smart as. These things differ. We have it more than each other. You understand what I'm saying? Buhari has his weaknesses and his strength. But when you look at what is required to govern the modern day Nigeria, which is what we're talking about now, there are a lot of things that need to be mapped out. Buhari himself is just one person, which is what he is saying about being a leader. Being a leader does not mean that you are the most read person or you have the highest.
But is it encouraging for a lot of young Nigerians here in school? And of course, you know what our youths are also getting into these days.
Certificates are not meant to come and rule. They can use that certificate in several other places. You can be a consultant, and then this person who has become a president would have to sit down with you. As well, what do you do? Let's
look at the first Nigerian president who appears to be more educated. That was Yar'Adua. And of course, we saw some of the policies that came out of him, even though he was very sick.
Why Yar'Adua? Why not Jonathan?
Jonathan had a PhD. But let me use Yar'Adua as an example here. We can see some of the policies that he came up with. And of course, we saw the amnesty office at a point in time, and for the first time, we saw militants coming out of the creeks
to drop
their weapon.
I'm sorry to take you on this. You see, this point that you got to just now is the basic problem that we're having. Yar'Adua was not doing all those because of his education.
He had people.
His person.
So are you saying that all the leaders who have failed systematically never had people who could encourage them?
Of course, that is it.
Oh, you are saying that Yar'Adua was lucky.
Let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase my statement. Perhaps maybe you get it better. Goodluck Jonathan was the most educated president we've ever had, so to speak. He has a PhD, a doctorate. Now, what does that make him to do? It makes him to be able to relate with people, to think, because why? He's been a researcher. He's been a researcher. Before you can get your doctorate, you have to, go through those rigors. That is what I'm talking about, the training. I don't want to believe that somebody who gone through the NDA as a military person, who has been an ECOMOG commander somewhere, who has led a battalion, does not have training. It depends how you want to apply your training. Is the application.
Let's begin to marry these issues together. Issue of ethnicity, culture, and our education. How do we put all of this together? Now you have a man who is well trained, but the issue of South-South comes into play. The issue of South-East comes into play. You have issues of my brother needs to be in my cabinet members. So in that instance, we talk about restructure. It's so ambiguous.
It's not.
What is restructure all about?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. There is nothing ambiguous about restructure.
Okay.
When we come down, we have a constitution which all of us want to abide with. But I'm a different person to you. I don't live under the same. Even the weather condition are not the same. The topography, the geography, culture, they're not the same. The culture are not the same. So what are we talking about is let's segment this thing. Let us partition it. Even though all of us
not disintegrate.
No.
Okay, because some people are actually talking about
not disintegration at all.
Nobody
will agree with that. The Western region. When we had the Western region, the cocoa farmer were producing, the cotton farmer were producing, but it was still the same agricultural policy. But what happens? They allow whoever wants to do this to go in that direction. But at the end of the day, everything still comes together. That is what we're saying. I've lived, there's no part of Nigeria that I've not been. I've crossed the Gumburu border, and I know what I'm talking about. Okay,
let me take your parting word, General, here, because we just have to go. What are your parting words in all of this itself?
I just want to encourage Nigerians that we should keep being a good citizen of the country. We should be able to ask questions from our leaders, but certificate is not everything.
Oh, okay.
Well, I would want to implore Nigerians to think as a Nigerian, not as necessarily a party person, but what do I want to do to better this country? How do I want to contribute to better the lot of this country and move this country forward? Because the world is moving fast.
Those are very strong statements. I must say thank you so much to you, gentlemen, for being part of Political Talk this evening. And of course, it's been Political Talk on Impact Africa Television, IATV. And I have been speaking to Wole Akinleye. He's a political analyst. And of course, Dino Odeyemi, also a political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this evening. And we hope to have you more on the program again. My name is Bola Bofimos Cole, and we close the curtains here. Do have a pleasant evening.
I intend to keep my oath and serve as president to all Nigerians. I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
That this is an impeachable offense. It's an impeachable offense and we cannot allow that. We cannot stay there and the assembly will be taken for granted. Nigerians will be taken for granted.
You say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.